Welcome to the King Maguno podcast. So, this podcast is about how to improve yourself, how to become the best version of yourself. And we're going to be doing that through following rich people habits, following tech trends, pursuing passions, and leaning into challenges. My name is King Maguno, and welcome to the podcast. So, today's topic, we're going to be talking about how to deal with stress. Excuse my voice is a bit raspy, I don't know why. Ever since yesterday, but yeah, it's much better now. So the first way to deal with stress that I'm going to be talking about is meditation. I meditate. That's how I deal with stress. I'm going to put the meditation in the description. I'm going to put a link to the description in the description of the meditation that I do, right? So we we all deal with stress, and I wanted to talk about it because not a lot of people, we don't talk about it, but we all go through it. And so meditation has helped me a lot. I've been meditating for about 2 years now. And the meditation that I do, it's 15 minutes long. It's not that long, but I'll post it in the description. Everyone has their own method, but I do it because I got into it because I've been studying billionaires and millionaires. They meditate, so I decided, if they, and I want to be rich as well like them. So I decided that, in order to be like them, I need to meditate. It's been around for hundreds of thousands of years. Meditation has been around for that long. And I thought, okay, if these guys are doing it, I might as well do it as well. Right? Yeah. So, from my experience, it helps me calm my thoughts. Let's say they're all over the place. It helps me gather my thoughts, calm down. I'm not stressed, Every time I meditate after, I'm not stressed. If I am though, it happens, I do it again. I play the meditation again. Yeah, so I do it twice, sometimes 3 times, but it just depends on how much time I have. Right. So so that's the first thing that I do. I meditate. And it really, like I said, it helps me a lot because it helps me get ideas and solutions on what my problems are. It helps me also imagine the mind state or the type of where I want to be in my life. It helps me with that. Right. So number 2, the second solution on how to deal with stress is what do I do? The second thing, what do I do again? The second thing, the second way that I deal with stress, number 2, is gratitude. So what I do is I used to do 100 thank yous a day, because it's from the times of the sages, the guys who wrote the Talmud, the sages that wrote the Talmud. Back then, there was a time where they had to devise a spiritual strategy on how to deal with difficult problems, and there was famine and disease. So they devised a strategy on how to deal with those problems. So they would thank God 100 times a day, right? And when they did that, they solved the famine went away. So it's an ancient old method that's been used to deal with difficult problems. Timeless strategy, very powerful. So yeah, one of the things I do, if I feel stressed, I would send a thank you message, and it helps me feel so much better. I'm not stressed when I do that. because gratitude, what it does, it from my experience, it helps me. It just, I don't know, like I said, I can't, when you're in a state of gratitude, it's hard to be stressed, because then you start really appreciating what you have. That's what I've noticed. So that's the second thing, gratitude, right? Another thing I would recommend is waking up in the morning and saying at least 3 thank yous a day, minimum 3. The 100 thank yous a day, I've done it before. I did it recently last week, and I've noticed that what happened is I actually felt so much better by the time I got to my 90s, right? Yeah. So the second thing that I do is to deal with stress is practice gratitude, right? Practicing gratitude. My third thing on how to deal with stress, my third solution on how to manage stress is getting enough sleep. But then that's number 3. So I just wanted to say that this includes dimming the lights and also making sure that you get enough sleep. So I would recommend at least 6 hours, 6 to 8 hours, because it's better to sleep consistently 6 hours every day than to haphazardly sleep 8, one day you sleep 8, one day you sleep 6, one day you sleep 5. Okay, right? It's better to be consistent. And Huberman, Stanford professor, says that you want to avoid screen time. You want to avoid screen time between 11 and 6 a.m. 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. you want to avoid exposure to a screen. That's why I usually dim my lights and charge my technology outside of my room before I sleep. Yeah, I try to be in bed at 9, so I'm up at 4. That's now an ideal situation. I try to do that. So, and you also want to avoid social media or politics, anything negative before you sleep. You also want to avoid cold showers before you sleep, because cold showers put your body in a stressful state. Because when you take cold showers, like I said, we'll discuss that in the next podcast, but I've been taking cold showers since 2015, and they put your body in a stressful state because your body is fighting for its life. That's literally how your body feels, and it is. You're telling your body that it's fighting for its life when you're taking a cold shower. So so that's actually the third thing, sleep. You need to get quality sleep. A lack of sleep is one of the leading causes of depression, actually. And studies have shown that. I can put a link in the description as well as proof. So another, I don't know why it looks like, I hope you guys don't think I'm reading. I'm just literally, there's a screen on my laptop that's showing me what I look like. That's one of the reasons I'm actually looking at the screen. But I could look at the camera more. I'm trying to look at the camera more, actually. Or I could just put that app that it keeps my eyes glued to the screen. But anyways, that new NVIDIA app, I'm sure they got an extension that's not NVIDIA. Anyways, so I wanted to just say that I'm trying to think of the other point. The fourth point on how to deal with stress is hold on, before you go to the fourth, the third, back on the sleep part. Before you sleep, you want to also make sure, the fourth point. Let me go to the fourth point now. The fourth point is make sure that you eat, don't eat within an hour before bed. Try to do 3 hours, but don't eat within an hour. Try to avoid that. Try to avoid that. Try to avoid eating within an hour before bed. Please try to avoid that, okay? Because what happens is your body can't sleep. It's digesting the food. There's a podcast I was watching from Tom Bilyeu. He's the reason I was able to start my podcast. So Tom Bilyeu on the podcast, they were saying that Tom Bilyeu usually says he tries to eat within 3 hours before he sleeps. So that's where I actually got it from. And he's a techpreneur, multi-millionaire. And like I said, he's one of the guys I follow. And I've been listening to his podcast since last year, actually. My sister recommended it to me. No regrets. I'll link his podcast as well in the description. Yeah. So, another thing I wanted to say is point number 4. On how to deal with stress. One thing that I've noticed that helps dealing with stress is pursuing your passions or leaning into challenges, right? When I say this because the reason I'm doing this podcast, right, is me doing something that I'm passionate about, which is giving advice. It's one of the things that I don't struggle with. I do it naturally. It's one of the things of what my name means, King Maguno. Maguno means omguni, an advisor and counselor. That's what it means. So I'm very passionate about giving advice. And yeah, that's what I am. And the thing is, the podcast is an outlet. That's what I realized. Even before I started this podcast, I found out that a podcast is is a good outlet if you're stressed. So this is how I manage and deal with my stress, by adding value. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that so that's the end of the podcast. Remember to ask yourself that what's the best thing that could happen? What's the best thing that can happen? And well, there's only one way to find out. So King Maguno, this is the first episode. King Maguno signing out. Thank you. I actually don't know why I don't know. I thought this thing was going to end. Right. Wait, how long is that? How many minutes is that? We'll see. Well, maybe it's ended. Oh, it's still going. Right. So one other way on how to deal with stress that I've noticed is to, like I said, pursue your passions and your interests, because when you're pursuing your passion and something that you love doing, you're experiencing it's called a downhill. You know what I'm saying? Like it's effortless. It's like you're going downhill. But when what's causing you to be stressed is doing something that's an uphill effort. And the passion, when you're doing something you're passionate about, the byproduct is persistence. You can work effortlessly without tire. That's why being busy with something that you're passionate about is a very good way of dealing with stress. Because you're tapping into your subconscious brain, which has been there for much longer than your conscious brain. Right. So it's pursuing your passion is another really good way to deal with stress. Yeah. So that's the last way that I deal with stress. It really helps me a lot, right? One more thing, the last point. So I gave the last way. Another thing on how to deal with stress is you serving or adding value, giving. If you give, you not only sell more. Great book, concept. I got the concept from a really good book called Go Give or Sell More. So the book, I'll put it in the description as well. Go Give or Sell More. It's the sequel to The Go Giver, one of the greatest books I've ever read. It has a 4.3 out of 5 rating, 4.3 out of 5 on Goodreads. And Goodreads is, they give really good ratings. They're the authority on, according to me, they're the authority on giving book ratings. You can look it up. I'm always open to a challenge. I'm always ready to lean into a challenge. If you want to challenge me so I can grow and learn, great. I don't know everything. No one does. But I'm willing to learn and grow. So those are the ways on how to deal with stress. And I wanted to talk about them because I am knowledgeable on this subject, because I know there are ways that have worked for me on how to deal with stress. So I wanted to share those because some of my friends also are experiencing stress, but it's like I have been, I try to give them solutions, but I don't know if they actually practice them, So one of the things, those are the things that I use to deal with stress. And I hope my friends that are listening to this are actually gonna apply some of these methods, that I used to deal with stress. So yeah, that's the first podcast, King Maguno podcast, and it was about stress. So like I said, this podcast is about how to improve yourself, how to become the best version of yourself through following rich people habits, tech trends, leaning into challenges, pursuing your passions, and pretty much asking yourself, what's the best thing that can happen? And saying, well, there's only one way to find out. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for making time to listen to this. And I hope that I have added value to your life. And hope I've given you something that you didn't know, something that you can use, a lot of useful information. So that's it for me today. Tune in for the next podcast. Stay tuned. And this video, by the way, is sponsored by Good Boy. As you can see, I should have said this at the beginning. Well, this is my second take of the video, actually. The first one was a mistake. Yeah, we all make mistakes. The first video I recorded, it didn't actually have sound. So anyways, this video is sponsored by Good Boy. The cap, as you can see, sponsored by Good Boy. We've got the merch over there. It's Good Boy hoodies selling as well. Now I'll put the link in the description as well. So we've got more Good Boy merch. We've got a Good Boy sticker over there as well. So yeah, really excited. Definitely, it's a brand that I'm working with. Good Boy is a brand that I'm working with. Really excited about them. I've seen it grow from, an idea to actually being where it is right now. So yeah, I'm really excited to do more work with them. But anyways, so that's the end of the video. King Maguno signing out.